China isn't just turning out budget EVs anymore. Actually, they're building some of the absolutely most advanced electric sedans on the planet right now, and they're aiming straight at traditional luxury buyers. We're looking at a massive shift in the automotive landscape for 2026. In today's explainer, we're diving deep into the data to see exactly how these heavy hitters stack up against each other.
So, let's get right into it. The BYD Seal, the Xiaomi SU7, or the Xpeng P7 Plus. Which one of these actually makes more sense for you? The really fascinating thing here is that even though they're all fighting tooth and nail for that exact same premium executive market, these three cars take fundamentally different approaches to the future of mobility. The whole market has just completely shifted. These brands have evolved so incredibly fast from those early value-focused cars into serious high-tech alternatives to Tesla and the big European luxury names. They aren't just trying to undercut on price anymore. No, they are competing on raw technology, luxury, and some serious autonomous capabilities. Let's break down exactly how they're pulling this off, starting with the numbers. Section 1, Price and Market Value. Let's look at the actual financial reality of these 2026 models and see what your money really buys. The pricing strategies here are just wild to compare. BYD is leaning heavily on aggressive price cuts. Because they build almost everything in-house, they can make the Seal 060Mi incredibly accessible. On the flip side, Xpeng is positioning the P7 Plus in a sort of premium AI tier, starting right around €45,990. And then you have Xiaomi coming in hot with a true performance tier, starting at roughly 109,650 dirhams, or about 219,900 RMB, depending on your market. So yeah, you're definitely paying a premium with Xpeng and Xiaomi, but as we're going to see, that extra cash buys you some incredibly advanced 800-volt hardware and absolutely blistering performance. Moving on to range and charging. Let's tackle the absolute biggest hurdle for any EV buyer out there, crushing that range anxiety.
Okay, so if you're after pure electric range, Xiaomi is throwing down a super impressive 902 kilometers, backed up by a 15-minute ultra-fast charge. But Xpeng has really shifted gears for 2026. They're offering a pure EV version with 725 kilometers that can charge from 10 to 80% in literally 12 minutes. Plus, they now have an extended range version that hits a massive 1,550 kilometers. And BYD? Well, they match that utility perfectly with their plug-in hybrid tech, delivering a combined 1,500 kilometers. That is a lot of driving without stopping.
But the real kicker for long-distance drivers is this specific number right here, 2.9 liters per 100 kilometers. That's the BYD Seal 060mi's fuel efficiency when the battery is completely depleted. Think about that for a second. If you're someone who frequently drives way out where the charging networks are a bit spotty, this kind of hybrid flexibility basically deletes range anxiety entirely, all while keeping your daily running costs remarkably low.
Next up, performance and driving experience. Let's see how all these fancy technical specs actually feel when the rubber hits the road.
The performance divide between these three is honestly pretty stark. The Xiaomi SU7 Max is an absolute rocket ship. It uses this setup called the Hyper Engine V6 Plus to smash 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 3.08 seconds. It's crazy fast. Xpeng's P7 Plus long range comes in at a much smoother 6.2 seconds, really focusing on delivering instant, comfortable torque rather than snapping your neck. And BYD, they just step back from the drag race entirely. They are completely focused on practical touring and maximum efficiency, leaving the off-the-line thrills to the other guys.
But Xiaomi doesn't just do straight-line speed. With their Smart Chassis 2.0, they've genuinely brought sports car handling into this segment. They've got active air suspension and this really brilliant wet road AI system. Basically, it uses a network of sensors and cameras to detect wet patches on the road, and then automatically adjusts the torque and regenerative braking on the fly to keep the car perfectly composed. Honestly, it's a massive leap forward in chassis technology.
All right, Section 4, Cabin Technology and Ecosystems. Because at the end of the day, the inside of the car is where you actually live, and the approaches here couldn't be more different. Human, car, cross, home. That right there is Xiaomi's entire design philosophy. Their HyperOS cabin is built from the ground up to perfectly sync with your devices. We're talking magnetic accessory mounts literally right around the screens, a dedicated drawer-style fridge with its own independent compressor, and standard acoustic glass on all 4 doors to keep the cabin pin-drop quiet. I mean, this interior is absolutely tailor-made for the ultimate tech enthusiast. Now contrast that hyper-tech vibe with Xpeng and BYD. Xpeng leans heavily, and I mean heavily, into executive comfort. Picture this: chauffeur-like rear seats with heating, ventilation, massage functions, and a dedicated 8-inch entertainment screen just for the folks in the back. BYD, on the other hand, puts all the focus right up front. They utilize their signature Ocean aesthetics alongside a massive 15.6-inch rotating display aimed squarely at making the driver's life as easy and practical as possible. Moving to autonomous driving and smart features. Welcome to the software wars, because this is where the real battle of 2026 is being fought. There's a pretty big misconception out there that all Chinese EVs just offer the exact same self-driving tech. Well, a quick look at the underlying hardware proves they definitely don't. Xiaomi is throwing some seriously heavy tech at the problem. We're talking LiDAR paired with the brand new NVIDIA Thor chip. Xpeng? They're taking a completely different route, ditching LiDAR entirely for a pure vision system powered by dual NVIDIA Orin X chips. And then BYD relies on their D-Pilot system, which acts more as a highly reliable Level 2+ driver aid rather than trying to make a huge push for full autonomy right now. Xiaomi's XLA architecture feels uniquely futuristic. They're using what they call embodied AI, which is just a fancy way of saying the car is getting much better at understanding human intentions. Get this, you can actually just verbally command the car to execute complex maneuvers. You can literally tell the car out loud to change lanes on the highway or even navigate through a busy commercial parking garage and find a spot using absolutely nothing but your voice. How wild is that? Meanwhile, Xpeng's Eagle Eye vision system is engineered to just handle the pure chaos of the real world. By shifting over to a Tesla-style pure vision strategy, Xpeng has built a system specifically to navigate complex, unmapped urban environments on the fly. It essentially allows for true door-to-door navigation without needing to rely on pre-downloaded high-definition maps. It just sees the road and reacts. Which brings us to practicality and real-world ownership. Tech specs on a screen are great and all, but what are these cars actually like to live with day in and day out? Let's talk cargo space. The Xpeng P7 Plus is actually designed as a fastback, which gives it this massive 573-liter, almost wagon-like boot. It really bridges the gap beautifully between a sleek sedan and a functional SUV. The BYD Seal, well, that's got your much more traditional mid-size sedan trunk. So if you're constantly hauling bulky luggage or sports gear, that hatchback design on the Xpeng is going to offer you significantly more vertical stacking room. And we have to talk about safety because it absolutely matters. 92%. That's the stellar score the BYD Seal 6 just achieved for adult occupant protection in the latest Euro NCAP testing. It just goes to show that these vehicles aren't just about flashy screens and gimmicks. They're being rigorously tested and are actively pushing global safety standards forward. Xiaomi also brings some incredibly unique software features into the daily ownership mix. For example, they've integrated a motion sickness relief mode that subtly optimizes how the car accelerates and brakes to keep your passengers comfortable. Plus, they've added an owner management mode. Think about it. If you hand the keys to your 3-second sports sedan over to a valet, you can actually limit the power output and top speed right from the system to make sure your car stays in one piece. Pretty smart, right? So synthesizing all this data really comes down to looking at the trade-offs. If you go with BYD, you're gaining amazing long-range simplicity and cost-effectiveness, but you are giving up that bleeding-edge AI tech. With Xiaomi, you gain an unparalleled premium tech ecosystem and just raw, blistering speed, but you do sacrifice a bit of that interior spatial utility. And with Xpeng, well, you gain incredible autonomous hardware and top-tier executive comfort, but you're going to be looking at a higher entry point to get it. So how does all this actually fit into your real life? Well, the BYD is the absolute undisputed champion for the long-distance road tripper, or really any first-time EV buyer who just wants the reassuring safety net of a hybrid. The Xpeng is tailor-made for the premium executive commuter, someone who wants to relax in the backseat or let the car handle the heavy lifting on the highway. And the Xiaomi? That one's for sure aimed at the tech-focused buyer who wants pure sports car performance fully baked into their daily digital life. Which brings us to our final question. We've looked at the data, the specs, and some fundamentally different philosophies today. So when it comes down to it, practicality, software, or comfort, which future actually fits your lifestyle? The truth is, there's no single winner here. It's all about the car that best answers your specific day-to-day needs. Think about your daily drive, weigh those priorities, and let us know where you land. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will catch you next time.